What's up guys, Joel Valley here from Media Glitch, and as you can see, we are not in the studio. Well, I'm not in the studio. We are actually taking a little break right now, so we'll be back in the studio soon. We're just going through new management and making some changes, but all for the better. But I really wanted to I got an interesting game sent to me, and I really wanted to get the review out for you guys, and it's called Battle Chasers Nightwar. And this is basically a dungeon crawler. It's a turn-based RPG. So the game will come out October 3rd, 2017, which should be already if you're watching this. It's for the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. It was actually a Kickstarter project with comic artist Joe Madureira backing it. And it's based off a comic book that he did back in the late 90s with the same name. So what it is story-wise is there's a girl, Gully. She's a little girl with gauntlets, and her dad is gone, and so she's there with her band of warriors, and they get in this airship battle, and then the airship goes down, and they start looking for the island because their whole little crew gets split up all over the island, so they go looking for them. Also, they're looking for mana, which is something rare, which we'll get into more later, but in all honesty, a lot of the story is told throughout countless letters scattered throughout the world. The story might be interesting. I don't know. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I lost interest in this story. If it wasn't on the base story that they were telling me, I just don't have the patience to read all the little letters that go over. It's like Skyrim. I never read any of that stuff. I just kind of went and played through the story. And when the story is up, the voice acting is pretty good for the most part.
Arriving at the island, likely to complicate things.
Outsiders? Does that mean us?
Well, it's hard to make out entirely.
Now let's talk about the graphics. The graphics are great, and they look like they just came straight out of the comic book pages. In fact, I would give this game a 10 for presentation because everything looks beautiful. The world looks beautiful. The cutscenes are fun, and they look great, as well as there's animations when you do a burst attack, which I'll get into more later, but that trigger these burst attacks triggers these animations, and they just look beautiful and amazing. And it really helps because the game later on will get very repetitive, and it brings some freshness into the battles for sure. But the graphics and presentation, outstanding. So let's talk about the music and sound effects, stuff like that. There was some music. I'll play a little bit right now. So there were some that I really liked, and then there were some parts where I really feel like they dropped the ball. I felt like they could have. Sometimes I realized, man, is there even music? And I would turn up the game, and then I'd get into a battle, and all of a sudden the music would come. So I feel like in the overworld, and there were some certain areas that I felt like the music could have been better, could have been more, could have brought more to the experience. I'm not saying that the music took anything away from the experience, but definitely with more music, some better sound effects in the environment could have definitely enhanced the playing experience. So moving on to gameplay. When I first loaded this game up and started to play it, I immediately fell in love with the fight system, and there was a point that I honestly I may be playing the best RPG I've ever played in my life. But once you start playing, you do realize some of its flaws. But one thing that I really loved was the mana system. Now, mana is kind of like magic points, and so, you can get spells and stuff to replenish your mana. But for the most part, they have these overcharge attacks, and you get you get the overcharge, and that adds to your mana. And you basically get those whenever you use a basic attack on an enemy, and that mana only lasts, that overcharge only lasts for that battle. So you're almost forced or encouraged to use it. Also, there's a lot of different options that you can use. So you can have different options at your disposal to punch someone, but in the end it might cost you that you might get attention on one of your characters for the next 3 turns or something. There's always like a kind of a sacrifice to some of the things that you're using. Not all of them, but some of them. But if you mix and combine, like let's say you got one guy who can get another guy bleeding, and then you use a spell from one of your other characters, and it'll actually do more damage if that person's already bleeding. So there's a lot of combinations that you can use, and it makes it very fresh, the fighting system. I just absolutely loved this fighting system. Another thing I liked about the game was the burst attacks. So if you look over to your left hand side, you will see a gauge, and that gauge basically shared throughout the whole team, which is really cool. And when you get it up, everyone has a special attacks, and the animations are great. They're very powerful attacks a lot of times, or they can shield your whole crew, your whole group. And so that makes that, I tell you guys, this is one of the best fighting RPG systems that I've seen. So the enemies look good, and but they're not anything spectacular or anything awesome. They're all drawn well, but there's also a place you can go and you can look and you can see every one that you fought. And as you fight them so many times, you actually start to learn more about them, and you can see that in the information. You can see their hit points. You can see what they drop. You can see different information about them on all the beasts that you have fought throughout the game. As you go throughout the game, you're going and you level up. You will also get perk points, and these perk points can be spent. It's like your typical RPG. They can be spent to open up different skills, which can definitely help out in the battle in the future. So the controls are good and they're very responsive. There's different skills that you can use as well when you're in dungeons. The dungeons actually regenerate, and so every time you do the dungeon, it's a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different from the time you did it before. And they're usually filled with cool puzzles. Again, you got skills that you can use during that overhead battle, the overhead world. There's also different difficulty levels of the dungeons, and you can choose, and they all have, you know, better drops the harder dungeon you have. But I would recommend definitely be high leveled up if you're going to do one of the harder levels. But like I said, as I began to play the game, and I started to get a little bit repetitive, but the one thing that I really did not like was that you get several team members. You start off with 3, and then you start to find your other team members. Sadly, you can only use 3 team members at a time, which is not a problem because other games do that as well. The big problem is they are not leveling up with you. Like if you take a game like Exist Archive, which I reviewed, you have a ton of party members, but they found a creative way to have those guys leveling up even if they aren't in the dungeons, or even if they aren't in the battles with you. They're still leveling up in some way. So that's where they really dropped the ball on this. I wish they would have done something about that, because honestly, I did try, you know, the old man, I tried the redhead girl, but I didn't use them. I stayed with my original crew because they were already leveled up when I started to find these people. So why am I going to change? There's no reason for me to change. They don't give me any initiative to change. They don't allow those guys to keep leveling up when you're not using them. And I think that's probably one of the game's biggest flaws. There are a lot of other things you can do as well. There's a fishing element, which is nothing big. It ain't nothing new. It doesn't bring nothing new to the table. But you can catch these fish, and you can take it over to this very muscular fish man who has a Pokeball for some reason. And you can trade those fish in for other forms of currencies that you can use to buy different items. There's also a crafting mechanism where you can craft different items. And what's cool is you could actually craft items even if you don't have all of the materials you need. You can give more materials or more of a certain material to up the stats, and you can go above and beyond. So you could get a ton of ingredients, dip it into something, and that would increase your chances of that thing being crafted. But you could also craft a legendary item. If you just poured everything you had into it, all these little things that you collect, and you collect a lot of things throughout this game, and you dump that into that crafting system. It's very interesting and very fun to play with. There's also hunts that you can do at the Altered Beastery, which I love that name. But I would be 2 or 3 levels higher than the recommended level if you do that, because I'll tell you what, these bosses are pretty hard, and one hit from them takes out a lot of life. So try to be at least 2 or 3 levels higher when you do any of these. You can also visit Mercury and buy some magic books from her. You can go visit Lyco, and there's an arena where you can earn battle marks that you can also trade in for more rewards. There's the collector. You can go to him for some rarer items. There's Grimbeard, which is weapons and armor as well. And there's also Dogan at the inn, where you can either sleep, which if you sleep at the inn, it'll actually trigger different story events within your characters that you have. And you could go to Quail and craft some potions as well. So there's a lot of things to do within the game. So you're definitely going to get over 20 hours of gameplay here. The game comes in at $26.99. Again, is that worth it? Well, you know, if you love RPGs, I would say yes, it is worth it if they do a couple of things. They have to fix some of these glitches that I encountered for sure, because I definitely had some issues where my PlayStation just crashed, the whole game crashed, and I would have to start it all over. For example, the Dogan at the end, he has several missions for you. I could only go to the second one. I could never get past that because I always got to the same part and it would lock up on me and I'd have to reset it. No matter what I did, I couldn't move the guy, I couldn't do anything, and I was just stuck there. And so another thing was, for example, when I got the redhead girl, I'm blanking on her name, but when I got her and I unlocked her, the whole cutscene, it just turned pink. The whole screen just turned radical pink, and it was just stuck there, and nothing was going to happen, and it stayed there for a long time. And I finally hit this button to try to get it, and I could actually skip the pink scene, and then it just went into the next one. But luckily there's a place that you can go. It's like this little robot thing in a certain town, and you can look at past videos, so I was able to see what I had missed. But shortly even after that, I remember leaving that town and the game crashed again and again. So there's definitely some glitches and some bugs that they should work out. For $26, you know, I mean, if you're not sure about it, you could definitely wait for a sale. There's no reason, if you're not a huge fan of JRPGs or RPGs, to buy this right now. But I honestly, I would probably, if it wasn't sent to me for a review, I would probably buy this game for $26 because it has one of the best battle systems I've seen in a very long time. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I gotta go. Sorry this was so quick. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And have you played this game yet? And if you do, what do you think about it? Are you liking it? And I would definitely like to see a sequel to this game. Even though it did get a little bit repetitive, maybe they could fix some of those things. Maybe bring some more epic boss fights and stuff. So anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.